And we come to Sterlite, desktop, and let's come to XIMB, not Sterlite. Okay. We come to Power BI and 29 July, right? So I will take about 5 to 15 minutes giving you a recap. Let's make sure all of us are very comfortable with what we have done, and then we will continue. Okay. Okay, here we go. First things first, a preview of the interface. So let me turn on my annotation tool. Okay, and here we go. On the left side, we have the report view. This is where you create the dashboard, which could be icons, images, chart, slicers, different elements on the page. The second option is the data view, which we will be using today. This is where you run calculations. For example, if I have my profit and sales and I want to find the profit margin, if I know my shipping date and my order date and I want to find the dispatch time, if I have my gross sales and discount, I want to find the net sales. Where do you do these type of calculations? You do it in the data. Then you have the modeling view, which again, we will be covering today. In the modeling view, whenever you are working with multiple tables, for example, yesterday we were only working with a single file, right? With one Excel file. So there was no model required. But whenever you're working with multiple files, for example, one file is coming from finance, one is coming from your auditor, one is coming from your external consultant, and you want to combine everything, that is where we use the modeling view. At the bottom, you have the pages. You can obviously make as many pages as you want. Then on the right side, we have the visualizations. There are 34 of these which are inbuilt, but we can download more of them. So in the more visuals option, we can go to the store and we can download more visuals. This again, we'll be covering either today or tomorrow. And then once the data is loaded, you can see all the columns here on the right side like this. Okay. So this is the broad interface. Of course, there are lots of other small commands, but in terms of the interface, this is what we have. So the first thing we did was we connected to an Excel file. For that, we went to Excel workbook. You selected the Excel file. Let me do it one more time. So I am selecting desktop and XIMB, Power BI. No, not Power BI. My file should be somewhere. I'm really sorry. Let me just download the file once again because I think I deleted it. One moment. So training and XIM files and additional data sets, and we have data set marketing and sales, right? This one. All right. Okay. So we went to Excel workbook. We went to downloads and we selected our Excel file. In this Excel file, we know there are no issues, there are no errors, blank rows, blank columns. There is no problem. There is also only one sheet that is there on the Excel, but it is possible that there are more sheets. That is why it is asking you, which sheet do you want to select? In this example, there is only one sheet, so that is the one we are selecting. And we get the load button at the bottom. If we don't even select a single sheet, then the load button is disabled because, like I said, you at least have to select one sheet. So here I click on the sheet and I click on load. And the moment I click on load, it opens up this window. Right? Now, this is something at the back end. You wouldn't have seen it. Today, we'll be covering it. Right? This is called Power Query, and I'll be telling you what Power Query is. So don't worry about it right now. But once you load it, on the right side, you can see a list of all the fields have been loaded on Power BI. Okay. Second, we inserted the Q&A button, which is the one I'm highlighting here. The Q&A is a natural language AI tool, which allows you to ask a question in natural language and get the result. Obviously, the queries that you're asking have to be very clear and very straightforward. Like you can't ask things like, which is my best segment, because best doesn't mean anything, right? If I say which is my top segment, it knows what to do. If you say my bottom 5 categories, it knows what to do. If you say the top year in India, it knows what to do, right? So so if it doesn't work, it gives you an error or it says I couldn't understand, right? For example, if I say best segment, right, you notice that it says I don't know what is best. That is why there is a red underline, because it says I don't know what best means, right? So here we are writing sum of sales and sum of profit, sum sales and sum of profit. So now it gives me two numbers, 5,89,000 and 1,29,000. In the second Q&A, we did a listing. So we said we want to see the top 5 customer by sales as a table. If you wanted to make this into a pie chart, you can just say a pie chart and you get a pie chart here. And of course, you can choose any type of visualization that you want. Then you have made a map, which is sales by state as a map. Then we have sales by segment as a pie. And then we have profit by order year by order quarter as a line. Why is the data only shown for India in this entire page? Because we went to the filters pane and you notice that in this, we have kept the country as a filter and we have selected India. I'll do it one more time. Right now, it is blank. I'm not applied any filter. So the moment I select country and I put it in the filter, right? And I scroll down and I select India. Right? So there we go. It now only shows me India for all the visualizations that are there on the page. Also, the visualizations are connected by default. You don't have to do anything. When we learn Tableau after 3 days, you will see that in Tableau, the visualizations are not connected automatically. You have to connect them manually. But here, if I click on, let's say, Maharashtra, you will notice that all the different visuals are changing accordingly, right? Like this. Same thing, if I select any segment, you will notice that my numbers and my line is changing, right? Like this. The sales by status map seems to be not working for me. Sure. Also, can I request everyone who's commenting to please comment to the entire group? I think you have that option, right? To everyone in the meeting. That way, what will happen is others can also see your question. Even though I'm reading out the question, it would be helpful if you do that, right? Okay, if the map is not working, it's a known bug. So sometimes if your internet connection is weak, the map doesn't appear. Most of the time, if you close your Power BI file and you reopen it, it should work. But if you're getting an error saying that it has been disabled, that means you have to go to the settings and enable it. It's very simple. I will go to File. We will go to Options and Options. And there is an option here, which is called, just a moment. Okay, now I don't remember where it is, but give me a second. One moment, I'm sure I'll find it. So there is an option. Yeah, here we go. So in security, you will notice that there is an option called map and filled map visual. Sometimes what happens is that due to some reason, if you have not selected this option, even though as you can see, I'm not selected it, but sometimes if you're facing an error, you have to come here and you have to enable this option. Otherwise, the visualization does not work. Right? So hopefully this will fix it for you. Right? Perfect. Thank you, everyone. So options and security. Okay. Perfect. Any other question on this page, anyone, before we continue to the next one? All good? Okay. Let us come to drill. So in the drill, we made a column chart. Let me just remind you how we did it. Okay. So the chart we selected is our fourth chart from the top, which is the clustered column chart. And in the chart, we kept our order date in the x-axis and we kept our sales in the y-axis. Everyone, order date is x-axis and sales is y-axis. But how is it that it is showing us the tooltip right now? The reason is because in the format, if I go to general and I select tooltips, you will notice that I have not selected the default. So if I change it to auto, then it shows me the default tooltip, which is this black box. But if I change it to mini, it shows me the mini page that I've created. And the mini page, as you can see, is this one. And how is it that this page can be used as a tooltip? Because we had enabled it here, right? So in the page options, page information, we said that we want to allow the use as a tooltip so that other visualizations on other pages can access this page. If you don't turn it on, it will not work. You have to turn it on, okay? Just to show you, if I turn it off, and now I go back, do you see this? There's no tooltip. Even if I come to the format and I want to connect to that page, right? You will notice that it is not giving me that option because I have not enabled it, right? That is why first you have to go to the tooltip page. You have to go to format, you have to go to page information, and you have to enable it. Once you do that, now you can come back and you notice I can go to general tooltips and I can select mini, and here you go, you have the mini. For a moment, let me change it back to the auto. Now you can see that it is not just showing you the sales value, which is what we have plotted. It is showing us the sales, the average sales, the profit, average profit, transactions, unique customers, and the average of the dispatch time, right? So let's watch. If I look at the tooltip option here in the field, you will notice this area that I've selected like this. So these are additional fields that I'm showing in the visualization. For example, in the pie chart, you notice that the tooltips are blank. So it only shows me one number, which is the sales, right? Actually, I've disabled it, so you can't see it. Let me enable it once again. Hold on. So you notice there's only one tooltip here. But if I look at my column chart, I have kept all these additional values here. So we have the average sales, average profit, transaction, unique customers, and average dispatch time. How are we finding the average sales? So one more time, I just put my sales in the tooltips like this, and we click on the drop down and we change it to the average like this. How are we getting the average of dispatch time? For this, we went to Power Query, which I had introduced to you yesterday. So here, we have an option called Transform Data. If I click on it, it takes me to this window. And if all of you recall, what we did was, let me do it one more time, okay? This will also be a practice for us. So we went back to this window, which is Power Query, and we said that we want to find the difference between the shipping date and the order date to know on an average, how much time does it take me to dispatch an order? So obviously we have to create a new column. So for this, we went to add column and then we selected custom column, okay? Add column and then custom column. And in this, we said that this new column should be called the dispatch time. And what is it equal to? It is equal to my shipping date minus my order date. The reason the ship date and the order date is in a bracket is because that's an entire column you're setting. You're not selecting a single cell or a single row, you're selecting an entire column. So the moment I click on OK, you notice that we get this result. The only problem is that the format is not correct. Right now, it is in a text format. So I have to click on it and I have to change it to a whole number. And the moment I go back and I close and apply, now you will notice that we have this new column created called the dispatch time below the discount. And that's it. Now you can do calculations on it. This was a slicer, very simple. So I selected my slicer, and in the slicer, we kept our order date like this. Okay. Okay. So before we move on to the third, which is the scatter chart, any questions on this? So in this, we saw the tooltip. which is this one. We saw the custom tooltip, which is where we selected the other page, which is my mini page, like this. We also saw how the slicer works. We also saw how the two charts are connected, like this. And I also showed you the drill down. So basically, at level 1, I have my year, which is 12, 13, 14, 15. If I click on the drill down, which is this one, then I can go one level down. So I can see Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 only for 2050. If I click on the double arrow, it will take me one level down. That means this is the sum of Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 for all the 4 years combined. And finally, if I expand like this, it essentially expands the data for it. So there are 4 different types of arrows that we have. So just go through this and tell me if you have any question, anyone. Right? So column chart, tooltips, custom tooltip, drill down, connecting two charts, and the slicer. That is what we have covered right now. So just take a minute and tell me if you have any question. All right, feeling comfortable? Let's go to the scatter chart. In the scatter chart, we did, please watch. In the scatter chart, I did market. Okay, there are 5 of them: Asia Pacific, Africa, Latin America, Europe, and United States, Canada. That is the value. That's why you have these 5 bubbles that are coming. X-axis is the sales value, which is 0 to 1.4 million. Profit is the y-axis, which is 0 to 150,000, 1.5 lakhs. And the play axis is the order date. If you notice, I have only selected the year from here. Watch carefully. Not the entire order date, only the year. And I put it in the play axis. What does it do? When I click on the play button, it actually shows me the movement of all the 5 markets year by year. Now imagine for a second that if I don't keep my market and I keep something else, maybe my customer name. Remember, there isn't one customer. There are like 796 customers. So now it's going to look like this. See, your question might be that, Havish, why would we even want to make something like this? See, as a company, you're not really looking at specific values. You're looking at a cluster. You're looking at how it is moving over time, how the shape is moving over time. Just a little bit of deviation. There is something called k-means clustering and there is something called KNN. These are, so one is a supervised, the other is an unsupervised method. These two are 2 of the most simple and most common used clustering methods, classification methods in machine learning, right? We're not covering it now. This is something you would do in Python, for example, but I just wanted to introduce it to you that what we're doing is k-means and what we're doing is KNN, right? What we do on Power BI is actually a k-means clustering, but you can't really do it yourself, right? So you can just Google it later, not important right now. You just read a little bit about it, what is it and how are they different. Okay, so let me just share this with you. K-means clustering versus KNN. Right, just for future reading. Anyway, let's go back to our Power BI file. So let me remove the name. Let me keep the market in it. right? Like this. If you want to track the change in any one market, let's say APAC, I can click on it. And do you see this? It tells me how it is changing over time. So 2012, then 2013, the story is that my sales went up a little bit. In fact, my profit went up a little bit, but my sales went up quite a lot. In 14, there was a very rapid increase in both sales and profit, almost at a 45-degree angle. Then in 2015, the sales increased quite significantly, but the increase in profit was much more conservative, right? So that means that sales went from 1092 to 1372, but the profit only went from 112 to 134. So the change is more conservative. And of course, you can do this for every market that you have, right? Like this. We also made some formatting changes. As you can see, we have some colors. We have these X and Y axis lines. We have made a border. We have made a shadow. Let's see how we did it. For the formatting, I went to the format button, format your visual. Like I said, there are hundreds of options available in it. And every chart has different options. And remember, these are only the 34 inbuilt charts I'm showing you. When we go to the store, which is more visuals, there are more than 300 charts available here. In the beginning, you will find it to be very exciting that, oh my God, there is so much choice that we have. But the problem is that this also means there's more complexity because there's so much for you guys to learn. Every time you download a chart, there is a learning curve attached to it, right? And it's not something you can just pick up in 5 minutes. It will take you a lot of time to go through every single detail available in formatting, okay? I was doing this podcast with a guy called Arshad Ejaz. This is relevant to the discussion we're having now. That's why I want to share it with you. Okay. So Arshad, you can look at his profile. So Arshad is a Tableau expert. At the moment, he's working as a consultant with KPMG. His workflow is on Alteryx and Tableau. So they do data preparation on Alteryx and they do data visualization on Tableau. And you can look at his profile. He's IIT Delhi DMS. He is an Alteryx designer certified. He's Tableau certified and he's a Tableau featured author, which is a very big deal. Okay, not a lot of people get featured by Tableau, and you should see his work that he has created. So we had a discussion for about 45 minutes, and literally he said this. He said 80% of the time. I told him that Arshad, 80% of the time we spent is on data preparation. Only 20% is on the data visualization. He laughed. He said, I would say it's 90%. The reason I'm showing you what somebody else is saying is that you don't feel that, sir, this is your look at life. This is your look at the corporate world. You're telling us 80% of the time goes in data cleaning. Maybe it is not the same for others, but it is the same for others. Throughout the world, anybody who works in the area of data analytics is going to tell you that 80% of the time that you spend always goes into data prep, data management, calculations. Only 20% goes into data visualization. Arshad also spoke about the importance of formatting. He said that when he creates a dashboard, he says about 70 to 80% of my time just goes into formatting. And let me show you the type of dashboards he creates. Hold on. You guys want an industry perspective, no? That is what I'm giving to you right now. So this is Arshad's public profile. Look at the amazing Tableau dashboards he has created. So cool, right? And there's a lot more. Okay, it's not just one or two. Look at the sort of stuff he has created. I mean, no wonder he has been featured by Tableau, right? And that is what he said. He said that for him to make a dashboard like this, what you see right now, this has been done on Tableau. The visualization as such is not going to take a lot of time. The formatting, the setting up of the colors, the design is the most time-consuming part. Right? How beautiful is this? Right? So yeah, I mean, I would strongly encourage all of you to listen to the podcast because this is going to give you a second perspective. One is me, I'm the trainer and I'm telling you what I know and what I see. But having Arshad talk to you about this will also give you a lot of ideas. It's just a 45-minute discussion. just want to play one part for you, if you don't mind. Share sound. Look at this. Hey, rather.
Yeah, I think those points are very helpful. And I think it sums up very well the last thing that you said, that the job is not to make a visual, right? The job is to create a solution, create a report and win a competition, right?
Right.
Absolutely. If I can just talk a little bit more about the data cleaning bit, right? I teach at a lot of business schools. And what ends up happening is that I tell them I always follow a thumb rule of 80-20, that 80% of it goes into the
Listen to his
creating the
reply.
visual. Might have to go the.
So someone, for a novice, it's very attractive. You put in some data into Power BI and Tableau, you get charts, you get excited, you put them into your slide, and you just jot down whatever highlights you get from the data. This is something what everyone does till they are jolted back to reality.
I don't think I need to say anything more than that. I hope the sound was playing correctly. This, I'm paraphrasing. He said, till you're jolted back to reality. Your work on Power BI and Tableau is not to learn visualization. A baby can do that, right? There is nothing very gratifying about learning how to make a scatter chart. Anybody can do that. It is the story behind it, how you're able to present the data, how you're able to choose the right visualization that matters. Of course, you have to learn all these things. I'm not saying you don't. What I'm also saying is that you have to go beyond it. That is why I'm spending so much time on the data preparation part, which we did on Excel as well. Right? Anyway, the formatting changes I've made is, one is I've added the zoom slider. Okay. Then I have also gone to the markers. I've changed the size. So I made it 25. So they become a little larger. And I've also selected color by category so that they are not the same color, which is a little boring. They are different colors. Also, how am I getting the outline and the shadow? In general, I selected FX and then I selected border and shadow like this. Right? Okay, so that completes the recap, everyone, of what we had done yesterday. I hope you're feeling more comfortable and confident now. Just let me know if you have any question on this. Otherwise, we will we'll work with the next example, right? Before we go to Power Query, now I think I'll do one or two more visualizations with you to make you feel a little more comfortable. Then we will go to Power Query, okay? Yeah, any questions? All okay? Okay, let me close this. Perfect. Let us continue on that note. What I want to do with you now is to make another page, right? And we're going to call this my profit margin, okay? So here's my question. How do you calculate the profit margin? Let me ask it in a proper way. If I have an Excel file, okay, just think carefully. I have my profit and I have my sales value. Some very small numbers I'm taking here. How do I find the profit margin, everyone? So let's say this is my sales for the Verna. This is for the Creta, and this is for the Venue, right? So what is the profit margin for Hyundai? How do I find it? Anyone? How do you find the profit margin for the company? What would that be? 50 multiplied by 5? Do you mean 5 divided by 50, Harshvardhan? I mean, you're earning a profit of 5. The bottom line is 5 on a top line of 50, right? If I'm selling something at 100 and I'm earning 10 rupees, so my profit margin is 10%, correct? right? So 5 by 50. So is this correct? If I do 5 divided by 50, 6 divided by 70, and 7 divided by 45, let me convert it into a percentage. And I say that it is the average of these three. Is my profit 11%, everyone? Is this correct? What do you think? So profit margin for the Verna is 10%, for the Creta is 9%, for the Venue With is 16%. So would it be fair to say that the profit margin for Hyundai is 11%? Yes or no? And why not? Exactly. So as Anupam says, you have to look at average of total profit by total sales. That means I will say, or not the average, just the total profit. So I will say the sum, okay, of profit divided by the sum of my sales. Agreed? And that gives me a number like this, 10.91. And you can see the number is different. It's not the same, right? So I would like all of you to look at it and think about what I'm trying to explain. When I say the profit margin for one brand, of course, for Verna, the profit margin is 10%. But when I say as an organization, what is my profit margin? I'm not going to find the profit margin of each brand separately and then find the average, because that's unfair. The category size, the brand size is different for Verna, Creta, Venue, right? So if Venue is earning 16%, you also have to see that Venue is the smallest brand. So it is unfair to give it the equal weightage, correct? That is the reason why whenever for a brand, we are looking at the brand level, the aggregate level profit margin, we will always do sum of profit divided by sum of sales. I will keep the file open. And now let me ask you that we have the sales and profit, correct? So now when I go to transform data and I create a new column, add column, custom column, would you say that this is correct? If I say my profit margin is equal to my profit divided by sales. What do you think? Do you think this is correct? Everyone, we have the profit with us. We have the sales with us. So would it be fair to divide the first profit by the first sales amount for the first transaction, then the second profit by the second sales amount for the second transaction, and so on and so forth? Would it be fair? No, right, everyone? If you look at the Excel, this is the same mistake we are making. We can't divide profit by sales, profit by sales, profit by sales, and then find the average of it. That is not correct. That is the reason why I will come back and I will cancel it. Because you can't do this type of a thing on Power Query. In Power Query, I can do something like dispatch time, which is okay, because I'm just saying ship date minus order date, that is okay. I can say sales multiplied by quantity, that is also okay. I can say sales multiplied by discount, that is also okay, but I cannot find my profit margin, and I've just shown you why. So let me close and apply. And now let us look at something called DAX. Okay. So we have already done Power Query yesterday. We did one example of dispatch time. Today, let's look at DAX. Okay. So DAX stands for Data Analysis Expressions. It is very similar to Excel. Like the formulas you have on Excel, it's very similar to that. So it is a formula expression language, which means it is not a programming language. It is not like JavaScript and Python and R. It is based on formulas like we do in Excel. You put an equal to sign, put the name of the function, and then you write the function. For example, if VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP, match, SUMIF, whatever it is, right? Where all does DAX work? It works on analysis services, which is basically SQL Server. It works on Power BI, and it also works on Excel using something called Power Pivot. Power Pivot is an add-in in Excel, but it also works on Excel. So there are function, operator, and values, just like Excel. And we are working on a tabular data model, which is a fancy way of saying we are working on a table. It can't be a pivot table. It can't be a data that you have prepared yourself. It has to be a proper structured table, like the one we have with us right now. Okay. Now, in DAX, we use something called measure, calculated column, calculated tables, and row level segment. So I'm not going to read the entire thing for you, but the reason I'm showing all this to you is to tell you that the reason you feel that, sir, Power BI is not that easy, it is difficult, is because it is very difficult, right? Look at the amount of documentation available. Do you see this? There are pages upon pages upon pages that you have to read, right? And there's a lot of theory here, okay? And if you don't go through the theory, you will never understand DAX well. That is one of the first things that you have to learn, that DAX is very, very difficult. Now, I'm not telling you all this to scare you, but I'm just telling you this to tell you that I'm not telling you it is difficult. Everybody in the world is telling you it is difficult. Alberto Ferrari and Marco Russo, they run a website called SQLBI, which is the #1 DAX website in the world. These guys are the gurus of DAX. They officially work with Microsoft. They are the one who have written the book on DAX, which is called The Definitive Guide to DAX, which is this one, right? The Definitive Guide to DAX, everybody. It's a fat book. It's a, I think, 1100-page book. This is what I'm reading right now. I have it in my shelf right now. So these two guys are the gods of DAX, okay? Marco Russo and Alberto Ferrari. Look at what they have said in this article. 7 reasons DAX is not easy. Now, I'm not going to read the entire thing for you, but I hope you believe me now when I say that DAX is not supposed to be easy, right? A lot of reasons why they have said it is not important, right? One of the big things that they've said is that trial and error does not work. They very clearly said that when you work on Excel, to some extent, you can do trial and error, figure out the solution. It will not work in DAX. In DAX, you cannot learn DAX by trial and error, right? So look what it says. It says you proceed to the next step only when the previous one is understood and solid, right? So that's why I'm saying this again and again. This is a very bold thing that I'm telling you, and this is very important. That's why I'm spending all this time. I'm not scaring you. I'm just telling you that don't be in a hurry to learn DAX. Take your time. Rather than trying to do 5, 10, 15 things, practice what you have learned and do it well. If you learn 5 things today, make sure to practice it really, really well again and again. Understand how it goes. Don't just memorize and repeat it. That will help you, okay? That's just my suggestion I'm giving. Anyway, we know we can't do this in Power Query, which is because I told you that you can't do the profit margin for each row and find the average. So how do you do it and where do you do it? Because right now, there is no formula bar here, right? In Power BI, I don't see a formula bar. That is why if you want to create a formula like the profit margin, what you will do is I will go to the data view. Everybody, the data view we haven't used so far, but now I want you to click on it. The data view. Right, everyone? So now we come to the data view, and this is where you write DAX. Do you see this part which I've highlighted? It says calculations. This is where we want to build a calculation. New measure, Quick measure, new column, new table. We'll do all of them one by one. But for now, I want to select the first one called a new measure. Please click on this. See, right now there is no formula bar. But the moment you click on this new measure, you will notice that a formula bar will appear out of nowhere. And in this, I can write, I'll just increase the size. I'll write that my profit margin, okay, is equal to what? Let's go back to Excel and check. It is equal to the sum of profit divided by the sum of sales, correct? That is what I'm going to write here also. The sum of my profit divided by the sum of my sales. So congratulations, everyone. You have all written your first DAX measure. Right? Please do this. Now, don't worry. When you write it and you press enter, you will not see a result. A lot of you will be expecting that obviously when we write sum of profit by sum of sales, it should tell us what is the profit margin, right? No, that will not come because the measure only gives you, how should I explain it? The measure does not give you a result. The measure will only give you a result when you use it in a visualization. Otherwise, it will not give you a result, right? So please make sure to press enter once you have done this. And where is this profit margin going? Where is this measure going? Do you see this part on the right side? Below my profit, it has created a new field called the profit margin. And how do you know that this is something you and I calculated? How do you identify that it is a measure? By that calculator symbol that we have, right? That calculator symbol tells us that this is something that did not come from our raw data. It is something that we have created ourselves using a measure. You will notice that the dispatch time does not have this. The dispatch time just looks like a normal field, but the profit margin looks like this. Okay? So I'll wait for a minute or two so that everyone can do this. Right? I hope no questions, anyone. Now comes the fun part. Once the measure has been created, I can go back to the report and I will just make a simple column chart. And now we can say that, please watch everybody. My profit margin is the y-axis and my order date is the x-axis. Also, please make sure that once you select the profit margin, also convert it into a percentage. I'll tell you how to do that. So once you have selected the profit margin, you have to click here, okay, in the measure tools to change it to a percentage, right? And let's also add the data label in formatting. We know how to do that. Do you see this? 1102, 1148, or 1195, 1173. Right? There we go. This is the correct way of calculating the profit margin. Right? So everybody should be looking at this exact view on your system. If at all it is not coming, or if you have any other question, ask me. If you want to share your screen, let me know. And I will stop my sharing and you can share your screen. Anything more? Any question? Now, this is a very interesting story, right? Because we know that our sales are increasing over time. That means, look here, if I look at my year, it's a very clear indication that my sales are increasing over time. But do you see the hidden picture? Like I said, this is the job of an analyst. Look at the hidden picture. While your sales are increasing, which is great, let me just change it to the normal tooltip. Or you know what? Let's do it here. Let me put the profit margin in the tooltips and let's keep the sales in the y-axis. Now, what will happen is somebody looks at the data, their immediate takeaway is that, oh, this is great. Business is performing very well. 2.3 became 2.7, became 3.4, became 4.3. But there is a hidden picture, which is that your profit margin is 1102, 1148, 1195, and then it dropped to 1173. It's not a very big drop, but it is a drop, right? And that's not a good thing. That is, like I said, the hidden picture. That is the job of an analyst to present this story. Your job is not to make a chart and tell the client, I have done the analysis, I've written the formula. Now you see what you want to do with it. Absolutely not. Your job is to make the chart and also help them extract the right insights. The ones that you can find, you show it to them and you enable them to come up with actionable pointers like this one. Right? Now, one thing you can do is, if you want to show the correlation between the profit margin and the sales amount, I can also make my column chart change into a combo chart, like right below it, line and stack column. This way, what will happen is, if I keep my profit margin in the line, this is what I get, okay? I'll give you time to make it, don't worry. Let me highlight it for you. So I have selected my line and combo chart, line and column chart, order date, sales, and profit margin. Now, this is so interesting, right? For example, you can see these peaks that happen, right? But see where the peaks are happening. There is not a seasonality factor there. For example, in the year 2012, which was my highest profit margin point? 11.91, which was in Q4. But in the next year, it was in Q2, not in Q4, right? Q4 actually was the worst one, right? And it's so interesting because look at this part, everyone. In the year 2013, my sales kept on growing quarter by quarter, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. But look at the profit margin. My profit margin showed a very big jump from Q1 to Q2, and then it kept on dropping in Q3 and Q4. Whatever the reason that is there. In a, let's say in a automotive sector, the reason might be that there was a new model that came in, or maybe there was a new regulation that came in. For a consumer packaged goods company, maybe the stock was a problem, or there was a lot of return that happened. Maybe from a financial angle, you acquired a new company and you had to offset the losses. You know, it could be one among many things, right? We're not getting into the case study side of it. This is an analytics training, not a case study training. But I hope you see how you're able to now relate data to what you do in case studies. In case studies, you are given a problem and you have to give suggestions, right? You have to identify the problem areas and give suggestions and recommendations. But all of that is not based on your judgment and your expertise. We are not a 50-year-old experienced subject matter expert that I can share from my knowledge and experience what a company should. Whatever we do will be based on data, what you see right now. Okay, let's see the question. Okay, I lost you where you show the graph by year and quarter. You're only getting the year. Sure. So Anupam, I have, this is the first level, right? I have clicked on the expand button, the fourth arrow, so that it goes to the quarter level. Right? Sure. For the percentage, what we're doing is you have your profit margin here. Let me just make an arrow and show you. You select the profit margin, click on the profit margin, and then in the measure tools, which is here, you select the percentage. So number one, select the profit margin, go to the measure tools and convert it into a percentage. Great. Any other question, anyone? Good so far? Okay. Now, as an organization, I might also want to make a baseline. For example, maybe my baseline is 11.5% or 11.6%, whatever it is. So right now, it's very difficult for me to see how many of them are above 11.6, how many of them are below 11.6, correct? So if I go to the analytics pane, we haven't done this so far. So far, we have seen the field, which is where you create the chart. We have seen the format, which is where you format the chart. Now let me show you the third one, which is called analytics. This is where you can add further analysis. There are a lot of options, but it depends on the visualization that you have. So for example, in this one, I only have an error bar, right? But if I look at the column chart, you notice that we have many other options. We have min, max, x-axis, average, so on and so forth. If I look at the scatter chart, my options are again different. Then I have percentile, symmetry, ratio. Now, do you see what I meant when I said every visual is so deep? The focus is always on quality over quantity. The idea is not to learn more and more and more charts. The idea is to learn the important ones, but go really deep into it. You should be in a position where you say that I'm very, very good with the line chart. I would be more happy listening to that rather than you telling me that I can work on 15 charts and I know how to make all of them. No, I want you to be able to tell me that I know how to make them customized and formatted really well, right? Anyway, in the profit margin, this is a great way of presenting it, but I want to show you a slightly different way. So if I can request all of you to just copy the page, just duplicate the page. Everyone, right click and duplicate. Let me just call it profit margin 1 and profit margin 2. In fact, another good idea would be in terms of how to work with an online format. You can log into the link, right, on Zoom via both devices. You log in with your phone and you also log in with your laptop. There shouldn't be a problem with that. It's an open link, which means that wherever you feel, okay, I want to watch it on the laptop, you can do that. But in any case, the video is still playing on your phone, which you have probably kept on a stand. So this way I feel this might work, that whenever you are comfortable listening to me, you can look at the laptop, which is a bigger screen. Wherever you feel that it's a very difficult topic and I want to see you working and do it at the same time, you can view the phone. Let's just try that out. Okay, so let me convert this into a column chart. We don't want a profit margin. So just make this, everyone, just make a normal column chart. Nothing special with your order date and sales. Right? Let me just turn on. It's really hot. Okay, let's just do one more chart. Then we'll also take a small break. Now, in the previous one, I'm very happy with the chart. I think it looks great. but then it's a little cluttered, right? I want to make it more subtle. And that is what I want to show you, how the same data can be presented in a very different manner. So on the profit margin, now I've only kept the sales value. I've not kept the profit margin at all. How do we present the profit margin? Okay, watch very carefully. What I'm going to do is I will go to format and I will go to columns, and there is a button called FX. Please click on that, everyone. This one. Select the chart, go to format and click on columns and click on this FX button, which is conditional format. Right? And once you select this FX button, now I can have different colors as per the value. It could be any value. For example, just watch. I'll give you time to practice. If I select my field as sales, okay, sum of sales, and I say that the quarter with the low sales should be a light blue or maybe a gray color, and the quarter with the highest sales should be a dark blue color. What will happen is you will get a range of colors like this. And I think this looks great, right? Look at this. I think this looks excellent. But I can be very smart and I can say that, why don't I show this as per the profit margin? So what will happen? The size, the height of the column will be as per the sales, but the color will be as per the profit margin, which means, look at this. This is giving me such an interesting insight, because the taller columns are not always the blue columns, right? Look at this. Here, if you look at the profit margin, let me keep it in the tooltips. Check this out. Profit margin is only 11.34%. Look here, 13.1. Look here, 13.05. So there's a very interesting picture, because everybody would say, Havish, there is a seasonality. Look at this. I agree, there is a seasonality in the sales, but there is not a seasonality in the profit margin. The profit margin is independent of the sales value. That is very clear. There is no correlation between it. In the year 2012, right? Look at this. 10.56, 10.16, 10.72, 11.9. Next year, it's very different. My Q2 was 13.05 and Q4 was only 10.43. So while my top line was increasing, I was not really earning a lot of profit, right? Like this. Again, in the next year, Q1 and Q4 were the best ones, which again is very different to the previous 2 years. Again, in the current year, you notice we are at 12.5, 12.35, but in none of the quarters have we reached 13%. So you notice 12.5, 10.80, but we haven't reached 13%. Right? So yeah, any questions on this? Anyone? But I hope you see how different the charts are. I'm not saying which one is better than the other one. I'm just showing you such an interesting way of presenting the data, right? And both of them are two different options completely. Right? Any question, anyone? Let me just show you the conditional formatting one more time. So conditional formatting like this. Right? Once we are back, I'll show you yet another way of doing it with the same chart, completely different way of presenting the data, right? But once we come back, I'll do it. Not now. All good? Okay. So quick recap. We have done the measure, which is we went to the data view, right? Then we went to measure tools, table tools, and we selected new measure. What is the calculation that we create? Profit margin is equal to sum of profit divided by sum of sales. You cannot see the result here. A lot of people say, why can't I see the result? You can't. You can only see the result when you keep the profit margin in a visualization. On the right side, you get the profit margin with a calculator symbol. This way, you know that it is a measure, not a field coming from your raw data. I went back and then I created a combo chart like this. In this, I kept the sales in the y-axis and the profit in the line y-axis. And we have also discussed how interesting the data is. In the second one, we have made a normal column chart, but then we went to columns and we selected the FX button. And we said that the color should be based as per the profit margin, where low profit margin will be gray and high profit margin will be blue. The only problem is that it's a gradient. Ideally, I would have liked to have 3 colors. So maybe a profit margin of 0 to 10, 10 to 12, and 12 and above, right? For example, okay, everything is above 10. So maybe 10 to 11, 11 to 12, and 12 and above, something like that, right? 11, 10 to 11. One second. Let me just see. So 10 to 11, and then 11 to 12, and 12 and above, something like that. So once we are back, we will do that. I'll tell you how to build your own rules so that you can choose the colors, and that would be dependent on the logic that you have defined. Perfect. I think on that note, let's take a small break. It's what time is it? It's 11:47. So we'll go by my clock, okay, on my laptop. 30 minutes break. All right. Let's come back at 20. No, let's come back at sharp midnight, right? Okay, maybe just a little more. Let's just make it 2 so that it's 14 minutes. Hi, sorry for the 1 minute delay, lost track of time. Okay, so profit margin, we have done the combo chart, which has the column for the sales. And we also have the line that is expressing the profit margin value, right? We also did this with a conditional formatting where the height is presenting the sales value and the colors are as per the profit margin. Now, this is a gradient. If I can show you the formatting by clicking on FX, you can see that the low value is a green and the high value is a. Now, this looks pretty good, but the problem is I can't control it. Usually in business, you need to have categories. For example, here you notice it is ranging from 10.16 to 13.11, right? So what if I want to show 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 13 and 13 above, basically 4 categories. And I want 4 colors associated with it. Let's see how to do that. So I will again right click and duplicate the page, right? In this one, we will go to format, right? Columns. I will go back to FX. It's very simple. All I'm doing is I'm saying I don't want a gradient. That means the range of colors. I want a rule, like a formula. And the rule is that if my value is greater than or equal to 0.1 and it is less than 0.11, then the color should be gray. I will add a rule. I will say if it is greater than or equal to 0.11 and it is less than 0.12, then it is a different color. One more time, 0.12, 0.13, and finally we have 0.13, 0. Or rather we can just say greater than or equal to 0. We can just put any large number. I don't know if we need this or not. No, I think we need to put something here. So 1 second. Let's just put a very large number like a 1, which is 100%. We will keep a different color here like this. I will open it one more time for you to practice, but I just want you to see the final result. It's very simple. You see this? This is so nice because I know what each of the colors represent. There are only 4 colors and it is very clear. The grays are between 10 to 11%. The light blue is between 11 to 12. Then you have this, which is between 12 to 13, and these are 13 above, like this. So again, look at the fact that we have created 3 charts and with the same data, profit margin and sales, and look at the different ways in which we can present it, right? So please try this, everyone. It's not difficult, as you can see, but I would still like you to do it to feel comfortable doing it yourself. It's one thing to watch. It's another thing to do it yourself. Any questions, anyone? Or anything else that you would like to discuss as far as this is concerned? Can we display the legend in the graph? Yeah, unfortunately, you can't. This legend you will have to create manually, right? There would not be an option for the legend here. It would have been nice, but the thing is that you're doing conditional formatting, so you can't really do that. Yeah. Usually what we do is, I'll also tell you the solution. Usually what we do is, because these colors have been defined by us, right? You can just go to insert. Let me just do it for you. I can go to shape. I can just make a small square. A lot of you must be thinking, really, is this the amount of effort we'll have to put into it? But see, you have to. It's not that we don't know the correct approach, but there is no other choice, right? You will have to manually create these boxes. Let me just complete this for you. So I'll put in the color, right? I'll just copy it one more time, right? And then I'll again copy my gray color. 1 second. Come here, style, more colors, like this. You get the idea, right? So you can basically make this, then you can again make a text box like you do in PowerPoint. And then here you can say that this is representing 12%. No, this is 13% and above, right? And this is 10% to 11%, something like this. Yes, it's a little bit of work, but remember, whenever you see a dashboard created online, this is the level of effort that goes into it. Everything can't be given as an option in the formatting, because then you will have thousands of options in formatting, which will be counterintuitive. That will make formatting even more difficult. So this is like a pretty good way of doing this, right? Good. Any other question, anyone? I just want to do one more. This one you don't need to do because it's very simple. I just wanted to do one last example to show you one other way of presenting the data. Okay, please watch. Don't do this, please. Let me remove the conditional formatting. I'm going to make this right one more time. So please watch, copy and paste. And in the second one, first one, I'll not keep the profit margin. In the second one, I'll not keep the sales value. I'll only keep the profit margin like this, right? And we'll keep it below this. And I'll only keep one, I'll remove the x-axis from the first chart. So x-axis, and I want to remove it. And let's just keep a different color so that it looks a little nicer. Just a minute. This is not the count of year. It should be the profit, right? So my profit margin. Okay. Don't you think this is nice? Everyone, I mean, again, it's very subjective, but I think this is great, right? And I know for a fact it is good because a lot of consulting firms create charts in this way, where you basically share a common x-axis. But the advantage of this chart, everyone, is that you can see everything very clearly. Look at the first one. Both the numbers are there. You have the profit margin and you have the sales, but it's very cluttered because everything is getting overlapped. Here, you have the colors here, which is a very subtle effect. Like you're not showing the profit margin, but you're just expressing where is the profit margin high, where is it low. But it doesn't give you that level of nuance. If you want to say exactly what is the profit margin, you can't do that. You're getting an approximation. In this one, the profit margin is precise. Here, it is an approximation. In this one, you are bucketing it into categories. So it's very precise. You know exactly what you're doing. But if I want to know the exact profit margin, I can't do that because I know this is somewhere above 13, but it could be 15, it could be 20. You get my point, right? So that is the problem, that these three look the same. I don't know whether they are the same exactly or there is some difference. And finally, in the profit margin 4, this is great in its own way because now I can also do a correlation. Plus, I have the ability of being able to look at all the numbers independently. So what I would do here is I will not start at 0 because all the numbers are very close to each other, right? So I just go to my y-axis and say that let's not start at 0, let's start at 10%, which is 0.1. Now, do you see this? How much better this is? By starting at 10%, it has just become relative, it has become more prominent. So I can more prominently see the differences in the profit margin. Again, like I said, no one is better than the other one. It's just a question of exploring and experimenting. So ideally, when you guys are creating a dashboard, this is what you should be doing. Not make different charts. That is the second step. The first step is to go through all the formatting options. The second step is to mix and match 2-column charts, one with the profit margin in the line, one with it in the color, one with the category. And there are many, many other things you can do. I haven't even started. Like in this one, I can also go to analytics and make a average line, right? Or I can make a constant line. So I can make one line for, let's say, 11.5%, something like this, right? So now you're saying that ideally you would want all of them to be at 11.5. So you can see how many of them are above 11.5 and below 11.5. Then you can even make this line dynamic. So I can have a control so that the line moves up and down. You see my point, right? The beauty of Power BI is A, that you have so many visuals, B, you have so many formatting options, and C, the way you mix and match opens up so many possibilities for you, right? So yeah, I mean, I hope you like the example and now you understand what is the process that goes behind me as a consultant working with data, right? Any questions or anything you want to discuss with me, everyone? Please repeat how I added the dash line. Sure. So all I did was I selected my chart. I went to analytics and I said that I want to add a constant line. What is the constant line? I'll do it one more time. I will add a line and the line value is 0.115, like this. Right? And I want it behind with the data label like this. Like I said, it's so detailed. The more you explore it, the more you will find it. Okay. And let me also tell you, most people in the corporate don't even bother getting into this level of detail. But then, that's what separates the people who work hard from the ones who don't. I'm not sure if I can make it bold or not. I can change the color. Yeah, but I don't think I have an option to make it bold. Yeah, it doesn't seem like that. Anyway, here we go. I'm also removing the y-axis from here, some formatting changes. So I want to remove the y-axis. From here as well, I will remove the y-axis. So it's such a clean chart that we are presenting, right? I also don't want my chart title. Check this out. Even though it's not matching, I'm not sure why. Hold on. It should actually match each other. So I'll have to do some bit of manual smartness where I'm just moving it a little bit. And I think it is looking almost okay now. Maybe not perfect. Like, did you see how much effort it takes to get a visualization right? It's not a 1 hour job, right? It takes a lot of time to do this. Yeah, I think it looks good. Here we go. In fact, I have now planned, I will record a video on this, this discussion, this approach of not making different charts, but mixing and matching among the formatting options, right? So I'll probably do it tomorrow. Great. Any questions, anyone? All good. Let's work with the table now. I'm not starting with DAX today, okay? Now, don't think that I'm going slow just because you asked me to go slow. Yes, I originally wanted to cover DAX and the model today, but that's okay. I think we are covering a lot of visuals. This is important as well. Tomorrow we will do Power Query and DAX in detail. We still have time, okay? So we'll keep that in mind. Don't worry. If required, I'll extend the session by 30 minutes one day. We will see if required, right? But I want to make a spark line now. This is very nice. Let me show you how we do it. A spark line. For this, I will first make a matrix, right? Like this. Everyone, let me highlight it for you. It's called a matrix. A matrix and a table is the same thing. Little bit of difference is there. A matrix is like a pivot table where you have rows and columns. On the other hand, a table is like a table where you only have columns, right? So I will make a matrix like this. And in the rows, let's keep our market. And in the columns, let's keep our segment. And in the values, let's keep our sales value like this. Let's start with this, everyone. The market, segment, and the sales value. Right? There's this very interesting feature called a spark line. If you look here in this option, right? In where is it? I'm sorry, where did it go? I think it's in modeling. No, it's in insert. My bad. So when I select insert, there is an option called add a spark line. Very simple to work with. You click on the spark line, and now you can make a spark line. Let me just make sure I'm doing it right. So y-axis will be my sales, for example, sum, and x-axis will be my order date. Like this. And you should get a chart. Yeah, like this. This is what I want. So how do I show you how I've done it? 1 second. Yeah, here we go. So let me just highlight it for you. I selected add a sparkline in the insert button, in the insert tab, and this is the sparkline icon. And this is very nice, right? This feature came only a few months back, and people went completely gaga over it. You might say, but why would companies want it? Like, what is it really doing for us? The idea is not to make a very large, very easy to understand visual. It's just it gives you a sense of the data, right? It gives you a sense of numbers moving up, moving down, the peaks and the valleys, things like that. But something different, that's why I wanted to show it to you. In fact, let me remove the market and keep the subcategory, if all of you are okay with that. 1 second. If I keep my subcategory, this will look even better. Yeah, I think this is better. Hold on. And in this, let me not keep my order date, let me keep my year. I think that will look a little nicer if I only keep the year in it. Okay. No, year, okay. What am I thinking? Let's keep the month, my bad. Let's keep my month. Yeah, and this is good. I'm just increasing the size a little bit so that all of you can see. So let's search for size. Let's make it about 15. No, 12. That's better. Of course, you have a lot of formatting options as well, right? I'm not getting into that right now, but you can see the number of options and tables. There's so much. I can also make it a column chart. This also looks very nice, right? I can change the color here, right? Like this. Right? So quick recap. We have made a normal matrix with subcategory and segment. Then we went to insert and we selected sparkline, right? Right? So I'm going to give you a little homework for today. I just want you to watch one Power BI file. Okay, let me share the link with you. One moment. So this is already there. Let me just clean up all these things. I'm sorry, I was working on something. Okay, 1 second. Right. So let me come to files, about me, Lucid. This is extra, so let me delete it. All right. Let's come here, and there is a link I have on SQL JSON, which I would like to open for everyone. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? 1 second. FT, visual vocabulary. I'm sorry, I'll just have to check once if this is the correct one. One more, I'll find it. I'm sure it must be there somewhere. It's quite odd. It should be here. Never mind, I'll add it. 1 second. SQL, JSON, Power BI, FT, visual, vocabulary. Okay. So what this guy has done is he runs a website called SQL JSON, right? So just look at what he does. So there is Jason Thomas, right? He's been working on these tools for a very long time. I mean, even before Power BI was there, he's been working on this. What he has done here is he has created this Power BI file, and you can actually download it and you can work with it. So you can actually practice, see how he has done it. And this is like a very large collection of charts as per the Financial Times visual vocabulary. So the FT has created a visual vocabulary that looks like this. So what they did was they created a collection of charts, and they are saying that this is like a category of different charts. How do I show it to you? One moment. Let me download it. And here we go. Okay, here we go. So as you can see, what FT did was they created this large collection of charts. It's not a complete collection because there are hundreds of charts, right? But what they've done here is they've created a very large collection of charts and they have categorized it, and they're explaining when to use it. For example, if I look at any one of them, let's say distribution, it states that, one moment, I just want to zoom in a little bit. Yeah. Distribution, it says show the values in a data set, how the skew or the shape is happening. How does FT use it? Things like income distribution, population distribution, revealing inequality. Then there are different types of charts here, histogram, dot plot, dot strip plot, barcode, like this. All of them obviously can't be made on Power BI, but most of them can be made on Power BI. And what this guy has done is this fellow has actually created an interactive Power BI file, which is based on the Financial Times visual vocabulary. So if you notice, I can just download it from here, which is source file from here. By the way, I'll also share the link with everyone. Let me copy it and put it on the chat window. And I'm also putting it here because you might want to copy it from here as well. Just a minute. I thought it would be here, but anyway, doesn't matter. Let me put the link here. What is the size I've kept? I've kept 36 as the font size. So let me increase it. Oh, it's already there. My bad. The link was already here. Never mind. And let me download it. This is really worth looking at. Okay, check this out. Okay, this is the file, and here we go. I'm sorry, I'll have to install these R packages because some of the visuals use R. Most of them are normal visuals, some of them do use R. So just give it like a few seconds for it to install. Okay, that's taking a little bit of time. Can I minimize it? No. So let me do it later. That's okay. Let's look at the other charts. So here you notice there are a lot of charts created. So in deviation, we have diverging stack bar, the spine chart, the surplus deficit line, the diverging bar. Again, conditional formatting has been used. If you notice, if I go to visuals, now you should know that we have already done this before. See this, conditional formatting, right? Correlation, again, you have different charts. We have done the line and column. Then you have a table, you have a bubble. We've done most of this, right? Then you have ranking. Again, you have different types of charts here. This is very nice. This is called the slope chart, right? This one. This is the lollipop chart, the bump chart. And basically, there are different types of charts that have been created. So there's a lot to learn. And the best part is you're not just looking at a chart blindly. Do you see this? There is also a description given as to what is the advantage of the chart. When is it appropriate to use this chart, right? So yeah, that's what I wanted to show to you. And you should definitely have a look at this, everyone. Okay, so that's one homework for today. And I think that should be good enough, because if you really do it properly, there's a lot to learn from it. Tomorrow, I'll give you something else to work on, which is the custom visuals, but I want to first show you what it is before I give you that work. So maybe just spend 15, 30, 45 minutes on it, find the time and work on it. And there's a lot that you will learn. Plus, because now you have learned the basics, you'll be able to connect and relate to it as well, right? So today we have done the profit margin, very important. We did the tax calculation, where we went to data and we wrote a measure. We made a combo chart. We have used conditional formatting with a gradient, conditional formatting with categories, which are rules. We have also created two charts with a reference line, just the art of storytelling, right? We have also made a spark line, which is a matrix, right? Tomorrow, we will take a pause from charts. We've done quite a few of them. And I'm going to head over to Power Query. So we'll be working on data preparation, data cleaning tomorrow. We will also see how multiple files can be combined. We will look at merge, append, column from examples, and many other things. After that, we do calculations. And then on the fourth day, I will again circle back to charts. Even though in charts, more or less, I've told you everything. Now it is for you guys to practice and explore everything that is available to you. Right? Any questions, anyone? Any questions or anything else that you would like to share with me?
Hello.
Yes.
Like we have to download some R files also.
No. So what happens is that you notice that we have R and Python within Power BI. You usually don't need it, but for certain visuals. So if I download the visuals from the app stores, which we'll be covering on the fourth day of the training, if you download certain visuals from the R store, for example, let me show you one. This is called Forecasting with Arima. For you to work with this visualization, you need to have R installed on your computer. You can see that it says that there is a dependency. So you need to have R installed on your computer for this visualization to work. This is only for specific visuals. There are about, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 of them. For all the others, R and Python is not required. Right? And that again will be out of the scope of this training. We are not really getting into the data science part of it, but good to know. So at least now you know that, okay, Power BI is not just about the inbuilt charts and formatting. It's not just a better version of Excel. It's an entire platform where I can actually run R and Python as well. If you notice, I can just click on Python. I can actually run my Python code here, right? And don't be overwhelmed with this. A lot of people say, oh my God, now do we have to learn this as well? Absolutely not. I can also do JavaScript in Power BI. Does that mean I know how to do it? No. There will be many, many things in Power BI, but it might not be relevant to you. For example, in external tools, I have something called the DAX Studio. If you notice, it's this entirely different tool, which allows me to do very advanced things on DAX like this. It's a free tool available as an add-on on Power BI. Now, this is meant for the IT folks. Do you see all this? I'm not going to work on all of this. I don't even know how to do it. XML and all of that, right? Server timings, metadata. So just because something is there doesn't mean it's important or it's relevant for you. R in Python, like I said, might be useful depending on what you intend to be. If you guys are going to work in a profile where you feel some programming knowledge is required, then you should learn it. But for most of you, I don't think that would be required. Okay? Great. Let me save this. So I will update this file on the Teachable account along with today's video as well. So you can have a look at it. And tomorrow we work on the model. So we work on a new Power BI file where we are working with multiple files on Power Query and DAX. Okay. Perfect. That's all from my side. There are no questions. Thank you, everyone. And If Sohail is taking the feedback, do share the feedback. Actionable points, okay? Too fast doesn't tell me what I need to do. If you say, I would like this to be covered more or this to be covered less, you can always say, can you cover a finance example, which we will be doing on the 4th day of the training, by the way. Whatever inputs you have, share it with me and I'll try to keep it in mind.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Good night, sir.
Good night.